Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 156. I was white here, kicked off with e4. My opponent played e6. And I was thinking we were going into a French defense, but my opponent plays the move d6. So this is a bit unusual. There's only a handful of games in the opening book. And a lot of times I've seen this idea before. Let's see, where black will create a pawn structure like this with the pawns on g6 and b6, put the bishops, fianchetto the bishops, and then put the knights in front of the king and the queen, and that's called a hippopotamus, I guess because of the way the pawn structure looks with the bishops for eyes and the knights for the nostrils. Anyway, that's my interpretation of the hippopotamus. But my opponent didn't play that. He played a completely unique opening, so we're totally out of the opening book here. And I'm also going to leave the chess engine off so I can do some tactical quizzes. So, but we get some normal developing moves here. Knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, bishop e7, bishop e2, castles. He castles, I'm sorry. Castles, bishop f4. And now he comes up with this plan, king h8 and knight to g8. The chess engine doesn't really approve of it. Up until this point, there's only sort of a typical opening advantage for white, maybe slightly better than usual because of black's somewhat unconventional play. But yeah, there's an advantage to playing like that, which is you don't have to worry about your opponent knowing the opening better than you do and getting stuck in some trap. So there's some advantage to playing like that, and also it's a very flexible setup what he's got here, so he can push forward with e5 or d5 or c5 at some point. He's just got a lot of choices, so it's not a bad way to play. But this maneuver here, king h8, is a little bit slow. King h8 and knight g8, so he's moving his pieces backwards, and the advantage to white has increased to more than a typical advantage. There's probably a winning advantage for white at this point, although it would require a lot of precise play. And starting here, I make my first mistake. So h4 is a mistake, and you might want to think about this position for a while and understand why h4 is a mistake. It's your first tactical quiz, I guess, is think about white's move here. And I've just told you that white is going to play h4, and why is that a mistake? What threat does black have that white is ignoring here? Okay, I'm going to give away the answer. It's in the game continuation. h4, d takes c5. I mean, c takes d4, rather. And he just wins a pawn here. Basically, I can't take the pawn back because of the fork. Although this knight really doesn't have any good squares either. So, for example, that continuation is good for black. He's won a pawn. He's cemented his structure in the center. Sometimes this knight maneuver will, double attacks this pawn and puts pressure on this pawn. But here, the d-pawn on the pawn on d6 is well defended, and so is the pawn on d4, so this knight is pretty useless over here. So actually the way I played is one of the top two choices. Chess engine recommends either knight takes or queen takes. I took with the queen, e5, and then sack the knight. It's basically the only way out. And now there's an advantage to white. So the evaluation swung from basically a -1 to a +1. So I have two pawns for the piece, and I have a lot of development. So it's not like exactly game over, especially in a blitz game when things can happen. But probably a winning advantage for black at this point. But let's back up to this move h4. I had a good move here that I could have played to keep my advantage, and that also leads to kind of some interesting tactics. So here's your second part 2 of this tactical quiz in this position. Since h4 is a bad move and white has this threat, c takes d4, what is a good move for white here? And can you see maybe a few moves deep? What's the follow-up for white? Okay, I think it's an interesting position we're studying, so pause the video and take a look at it if you want to. I'm going to give the answer away. It is just taking, and of course that meets the threat of him taking because he's not taking anymore. And when he takes back, trading queens. And at first you think that this might be leading nowhere in particular with the force off the board, but if, for example, he takes with the rook, you can keep trading and play the move knight e5. And now the weakness of black's position becomes evident. His lack of development, you can see all his pieces are on the back row, and the awkward placement of the pieces means that actually this square f7 cannot be defended. He has no piece that can defend that square on f7. So now he can move the pawn away, but the square is still undefended. Knight there is a fork of the king and the bishop. So he's going to lose material here. The best move according to the engine is giving up the pawn rather than moving it. And and now he has to move his bishop away. And so this would be a line, and white would be a pawn up basically, and in good shape with better development. So that's the way to play here. The other point is after queen takes, so rook takes is actually the worst move. The best move is bishop takes, but white is still better after knight e5 again. And now there's this threat of rook takes, and after rook takes, knight f7 forks the king and the rook, and so that wins a whole piece. So black has to move this pawn away, and this bishop has to move the bishop out of take somewhere. And this is just a good position for white. He's not winning material just yet, but he's just got superior development and activity of all those pieces, so should be also a winning advantage for white here. Okay, I didn't play any of those. I was looking at this position and thinking, well, black's king position is all messed up. I should just launch a pawn storm here. And so I started out with h4. And under normal circumstances, that might be a good move, but my opponent just has this threat that I was ignoring, basically, is the problem. So game continues like this. And now, even though black is a piece up, I have 2 pawns and I have a lot of development. So it's not completely simple, and the computer gives a slight edge to black. Well, a point edge to black is significant, more than slight, but still it's not so simple. And then here, I should point out, this move by my opponent, this bishop b4 move, was a mistake. So what should white do to punish this mistake? Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. It's a simple tactic, so you probably have figured it out by now. Knight d4. Knight d4 forks the queen and the bishop, so that would just win a piece. The queen can't even go anywhere to defend the bishop because the knight's covering that square, and the bishop has no great attacking moves. Yeah, so that's just winning. I missed that. I noticed my knight was under attack here, and I was searching for a move, and I was pretty happy when I found this move, bishop d4, which defends the knight and attacks the queen. And it's just that I had a much better move. So, example of looking for the best move. Okay, and now g4 here. This, again, is not the best move. It's better here, again, to play knight d4. Now, there is a threat of the queen attacking on a2, but I'm attacking the bishop, so he has to deal with that first. And when I trade off this dark squared bishop, basically his only developed piece besides the queen, it leaves me with quite a good position here. So this would be the best way to play. So I played g4, and now he can take on c3. And I saw this coming. If he takes on c3, it's going to undefend the square a2, and that's what happens. But I was hoping, expecting I would get some compensation in the attack over here. And actually, after queen takes a2, yeah, it's not entirely clear who's better. The chess engine actually rates this position as about equal. So I'm down a pawn, a piece for a pawn. I only have 1 pawn advantage now. I've given up the a pawn, but all my pieces are pretty active over here, and I just need to play a few good moves. So he throws in some checks. I had calculated this far that my king could go to safety, and then he throws in the move bishop e6. So bishop e6 is a mistake, and now white is winning, actually. You wouldn't know it by the outcome of the game, but I've achieved a winning position here. So the attack has become pretty dangerous, and at this point black needs to play a retreating move like either queen to e8 or knight to c6 is also possible. These are all moves that can be played with the idea the knight will be coming in here and helping with the defense, I believe. So, but after bishop e6, I have a couple of really good moves here. Let's see. No, actually, I start out okay. G takes h6 is one of the good moves. Knight takes h6, and queen f4. So queen f4 is not the best move in this position. This is the point I wanted to make here. So you're attacking with white, and so test your attacking skills here. What are good attacking moves? There are several good attacking moves. So see if you can find one or two of them. Pause the video and consider it. You want to see how far ahead you can think, and it's a good, interesting position to calculate. Okay, let me explain. First of all, queen f4 was an attempt to take this knight, take advantage of this pin. And the problem with queen f4 is that he just has this move f6, which defends very nicely. It blocks the pin on this diagonal, and now I can't take the knight over here. So that's the problem with queen f4. The good moves here are rook to g1. It's top recommendation. Just threatening on g7 here, and this pawn can't be moved. Other good moves are queen to g2 or g3, and then one more idea is queen to e5 there, also threatening g2. So taking advantage of the g2 weakness and making mating threats are just the best way to continue the attack. And so this move queen f4 was just not as strong. But the game continues, f6, and so I no longer have this winning advantage, but it's about even. And then after e5 here, now this is good for this is good for black after e5. So once again, the idea here should be rook to g1. Either rook in this case could go to g1 and just put pressure on the g7 square. It's a way to get the most out of this position. So I played e5, trying to bust up this diagonal, and the reason it's not a good move is because it allows bishop f5. That's basically the problem with it. So it's otherwise a good move. It's a good idea to break up the pawn cover in front of your king, but you always have to look at what your opponent's reply is. And I just didn't see this move coming, bishop f5 check. Very nice move because I can't, first of all, it's defended by the knight, so I can't take it. And I can't move my king over here because the queen is blocking the exit squares. And of course, king to king to c1 there is checkmate. So the queen there on c2 is checkmate. So there's a serious threat. I block it, and now he can trade off. And then let's see, what's the best way for him to follow up? Oh, the best way for him to follow up was not to trade. Trading lets me off the hook. So this is another instructive moment here. What's the best way for black to continue here? How does black continue his attack? He's starting to get something going. His king is momentarily safe. How does he best continue here? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. It's one of those commonplace rules. Always bring new force into the attack. And what's important about this is that there's actually 2 pins on the bishop. The bishop is pinned along this diagonal, but it's also pinned along this row, because if I take the bishop, he can grab the rook, because the queen is guarding that square. So that just wins material. And so, yeah, I'll just be forced to defend the bishop now, and that allows black to get in the game there, and actually gives black a winning position. So so the exchange was a little too quick, and now the position is about even once again. So knight d7, and here's my final mistake. So here I should play a really interesting move. I guess I'll give you one more chance to guess the move for white. You can see what I played was rook takes d7, I was thinking that exchange sack might be good to just activate my remaining pieces, but it's not good. Basically because of this queen f5 idea you'll see in the game. So again, it's not maybe a good idea in general, but you've got to always look at the specific variations. And just my opponent had some resources here I wasn't taking account of. So if rook takes d7 is not the right idea, what is the right idea for white? Why don't you pause the video and see if you can find the best way for white to continue. Okay, the suggestion that Chess Engine had, which I don't wouldn't expect you to guess this one very quickly, rook to d6. And of course I was worried about this move f takes e5 because you know, the rook is attacking my queen. But it turns out, boom, you can just take this knight with check. You don't have to worry about the queen being under attack immediately. And then this even this leads to a mate in 5 according to the Chess Engine. So this is just really strong, this rook d6 move. It stops him from taking, which is what I was afraid of, and it puts more pressure on the f6 point, which is what I wanted. I wanted to undermine f6, force some sort of exchange there, and maybe grab this rook over here. So that's the best way for white to continue the attack. So after the move I played rook takes d7, and then he has queen takes d7, and now there's always this threat here of queen to f5 check, which I wasn't handling, but black is just winning here with the simplified material. I thought maybe my extra pawns would count for something, but my opponent does a good job of rounding up these pawns, and it just turns out after looking at it with the Chess Engine there was no good way to save them. I'm sure I could have played slightly better, but basically black is winning all through this, and at this point I think I ran out of time or resigned. I think I ran out of time in this game, but anyway, I thought that was a pretty interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.